Hello everyone, welcome to TechSharmit. In this session, we are going to learn about another very important concept related to Get API, where I will show you how to use Get API with the help of environment variables. So in this session, we will discuss in detail why it is, what is the need of using environment variable, how it is helpful for the developer, and all the things that is related to GET requests using environment variable. But before we proceed further with this session, I would like to recommend you to please go and check out the previously released session first, because they all are in proper sequence and sync. So if you follow it sequentially, then it would be much more easier for you to understand the ongoing topic, because for time being we are just mainly focusing on what is GET request using environment variable. But prior to that, we have already covered so many other topics which is related to the APIs and other Angular related things. Okay, and for that you can refer the TechSharmit digital course book, which is freely available for everyone in the description box. There you will find thousands of sessions available in both Hindi as well as English language. So without any language barrier, you can easily consume the content, and in case if there is any question related to that, you can simply reach out to me through comment section. I would be more than happy to answer all your questions. Okay, alright, so let's get started and see how we are utilizing this thing. So this is my output of the program. Firstly, I'll walk you through the output and then we will see the program, like how we have created it. So here in this output, the main heading is coming as Angular course by TechSharmit. Then we have secondary heading, GET request using environment variable, one horizontal row is there, and then this is the title of my home page, that is comp1 home page, and this is the data that we are fetching with the help of API. Okay, so if you look at this second tab, this is my data which is stored on this JSON placeholder API. Okay, so here you will find the test data. You can also use this API for free. Okay, this is just a public API, and here I'm utilizing it. So this is how the data is coming right now. But the good thing is, the new thing is, we are going to use here environment variable. So now I'll show you what is environment variable and how we are utilizing it. So firstly, we will try to understand the need of environment variable. So we all know that whenever we call an API, we provide this kind of URL into that, right? At least this part is fixed every time, and the remaining parts we can change. Let's say if you want to fetch the data for user ID 2, so we will make it as 2, 3 accordingly. But this part, the initial part, is always fixed. So in that situation, we don't want to repeat the same URL again and again wherever we are utilizing this API. So instead of writing it again and again, what we will do, we will create one file and store this URL as an environment variable, and next time whenever there is a need to call the API, we will simply use that file name. We can simply use that file to get the name of the URL. Okay, so I hope requirement is clear, like why we are utilizing the this environment variable. Now I'll show you practically how we can achieve it. So for that, the first mandatory thing is for us is app.conf.ts file. Okay, so firstly you need to look for this file in your system, and here you need to add this provider. Okay, so what basically we are doing here, this line is just registering the HTTP client for our application. That means when we write down this line, it says that yes, now Angular is enabled to use the API, to make the API call. Okay, so that's the only purpose of this line. Always make sure it is added in your system, because if it is not, you won't be able to call the APIs. Okay, so for that we need to import this provide HTTP client, and we are using it here, importing it here. Perfect. Now after this, what we need to do, we need to go to the main app.component.ts file. So this is my main app.component.ts file. Here I'm utilizing one component, that is comp1.component. Okay, in case if you don't know what is comp1, it's just a component. You can see here, this is my component where I have noted down everything related to API call. So instead of directly using the API logic in my app.component file, I have created my component, and in that component I have stored all the required information related to API logic. Okay, but to connect this component with my application, we will use this import here. Okay, so here in import I have noted down comp1 component, and here I'm importing the comp1 component. Okay, so that means now in app component we have connected this app.component comp1.component. So this part is done, but to access it inside HTML we need its selector. So for that you can look here, this is the selector. Okay, so this selector I am using in app.component.html file. Where is my HTML file? Here it is. So here I just noted it down like this. So what basically it is doing, so whatever we are going to do inside the component 1, it will be populated here in my main application HTML file, because we know that in Angular we use one component inside another component, right? So same thing we are doing here as well. Now you can see other than that I have put two headings here. The first heading shows Angular course by TextureMath, and second heading shows get request using environment variable. So these two headings are there, then one horizontal row is there, and then whatever content we are fetching from comp1 component will be displayed in the application. Clear? So if you see here the last time when we call it, so you can see these two heading and this horizontal row is coming from the app component.html, and rest of the part, this part is coming from comp1. So I'll show you how it is coming from comp1. So in case, one more thing, in case if you don't know how to create the component, so you can just simply use this command, that is ng for Angular generate c component, and the name of the component is comp1. Perfect. So when you hit enter on this command, it will create this comp1 for you, which is component with 4 files: comp1.component.css file, .html file, spec.ts file, and component.ts file. So out of these 4 files we are going to use only 2, component.ts and HTML. So let's see how we are using component.ts to make the actual API call. So for that keep in mind that these are the things that we have imported, and I'll show you like step by step when we are importing it, but for now just keep it in mind that we are using it. Okay, then here when you create a component from scratch, you will find this export class empty. Okay, so in empty what I have added, like firstly we are adding this data colon any. So what basically we are doing here, so we are declaring the data. So whatever response we are receiving from the API call will be stored into this data. So we have just declared it. Okay, and then we will make use of this data to store the captured information. Then we are using here constructor. Before using the HTTP client we use the constructor. So constructor private HTTP colon HTTP client. So now we can use this HTTP client with the short name, that is HTTP. Okay, so this is my constructor. After that we are implementing here ng on in it. Okay, so here you can see, now those who have already watched the previous sessions, they know what is ng on in it, because in one of the session we discussed this thing in detail, like what is ng on it, right? So I'm assuming you all know the answer of this thing, so that's why we are not going to spend too much time on this. Instead of that we will move forward for API related process. Okay, so for now just keep in mind that ng on it is a method that automatically executed whenever we call the API. Whenever the application is loaded, this ng on it will be automatically invoked. Clear? Perfect. Now inside this you can see we are using this dot, so this is ng on it method, and inside this we will write the logic for API, so that whenever this application loads, this API is also called at the same time. So we are using this dot http dot get, then parenthesis, and inside this back quote is there, dollar symbol, and the variable name, that is environment. So now you can see instead of using the URL, we are using one variable, that is environment, but the question is where we have stored it. So to store this thing, we will create one normal TypeScript file. Do not get confused, it is not a component, it's a normal TypeScript file which you can add with the name environment.ts extension. And inside this environment.ts file, we have exported a constant environment where we have mentioned production false, API URL as this. Okay, so this is the fixed part of the URL, not the post one. So we have stored this thing here. That means now we can directly use this name environment. Okay, this name environment whenever we want to use this API URL. And same thing we are doing here. We are using environment.api URL, then curly braces /post2. So that it depends on your requirement. Like if you want to fetch it for 1, make it 1, otherwise 2. Then .subscribe, then double parenthesis res, single parenthesis, curly braces, this .data equal result. So whatever information are stored in result will be stored into this data. Perfect. So we have fetched the data. Now it's time to display it. So to display it, you can simply go to comp1.component.html. Here I will just note one paragraph as comp1 homepage, then for pre-formatted tag is there, data JSON. Now we are using this JSON. So for that, make sure that common module is imported, because if it is not, JSON won't work. So I'll show you. In component.ts file we have imported common module. Okay, so what all things we have imported? HttpClient, environment, common module, and on in it. So these are important things. Okay, if it is not imported, it will throw error. And that's it. So now we are good with the API like we called it, but instead of using normal URL, we are using here environment variable, and that's the advantage and main topic of this session. Clear? And when you call it, so I'll just simply execute it, ng-serve --open, enter. Just wait for a few seconds and then it will show you the output in the browser screen, and from there we will verify it. So you can see it is fetching the data for user ID 2, which is fine. And now if you want, okay, just see the name carefully. The name is, title is QUIEST. Okay, so instead of that, let's make it as 1 and see.